Hello. Welcome, everybody, to this month's live show for the Interstellar Sci-Fi Book Club. My name's Steph. You know me, so I guess we'll just pass it over to our other co-hosts, starting with Jessa.
Hi guys, I'm Jessa from the channel Gabbin' with Jessa. I do random bookish content. It's been kind of stagnant lately, but I'm starting right back on for the next month, so I'll throw it right back down to me. Next.
Hey, I'm Max from Max Reads. I read whatever the hell I want. I do single book reviews. Plus to Melody.
Hi, I'm Melody. I'm from Strawberry and Lemon Books, and I do a bunch of bookish stuff. Hopefully videos will be coming out next month, but we'll see. And yeah, back to stuff.
Yay. Good job, you guys. Okay, great. Hi, Roro. Hi. Roro's so supportive. Thank you for coming to everything. Like, seriously. You're so nice. All right, cool. So before we start talking about what we read, quote unquote, read this month, we're just going to briefly talk about what we're reading next month in case anyone's interested in joining us. Hi, thanks for coming. Okay, so our host for next month is, oh wait, can I do this in the right direction? Max.
Oh, first time.
I did it.
And we are reading Binti over on Max's channel. So please definitely subscribe, as well as the links for all the other co-host channels are in the description below. So you can follow us on the Discord and the Twitter. And so you can get notifications for any time we are hosting some more bookish sci-fi events, which there's going to be a lot of this year. So should I just read the back of Binti, or does anyone else want to
I think
go
that's a good idea.
Should I just go for it? Okay, cool. So it says, by the way, we're reading the first volume of Binti, not the entire series, which, just so you guys know, it is a trilogy, I think, right? There's 3 books?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but we're just reading the first volume of Binti next month. So it says, her name is Binti, and she is the first of the Himba people ever to be offered a place at the UMZA University, the finest institution of higher learning in the galaxy. But to accept the offer will mean giving up her place in her family to travel between the stars among strangers who do not share her ways or respect her customs. Knowledge comes at a cost, one that Binti is willing to pay, but her journey will not be easy. The world she seeks to enter has long warred with the Meduse, an alien race that has become the stuff of nightmares. UMZA University has wronged the Meduse, and Binti's stellar travel will bring her within their deadly reach. If Binti hopes to survive the legacy of war, not of her making, she will need both the gifts of her people and the wisdom enshrined within the university itself. But first, she has to make it there alive.
Exciting.
Yeah.
If somebody used to offer me like university or travel between the stars with a bunch of strangers, I know instantly which one I would be picking.
I think we might all pick the same thing. Maybe.
I think Becky Chambers gently steered us in that direction. And
Yeah,
we're firmly there now.
Yeah.
definitely did. Oh, you haven't seen it yet? That's okay. Because I didn't either. Hi.
I'm also in the same boat. It's not just Steph.
Thank you for going to support anyway. Thank you.
That's cool though, because we got the 50-50. We got the 50-50 split.
That's true. Okay, yeah, I think
I should have just not finished and let Max do the whole show.
the whole life.
Yeah.
Okay. So like June was a crazy month, I think. Is that safe to say for everyone?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And like, even though that's not an excuse not to like read our own books for our own live show, but like, I don't know about you guys, I really freaking tried, okay? Like the past 2 weeks, I've been like trying to bash this book into my brain and it wasn't working, and that's not the book's fault. It's a good book, objectively, so I'm sorry.
And I'm also in the same boat with Steph. There was just a lot that came up this month, and I'm definitely gonna go and finish this afterwards. Like, it's nothing against this book. Like, I'm just more I'm mad at myself, not at this. I'm mad at me.
Same.
Afterwards, you won't have to rush though. There'll be no pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah. But did you guys? I'm assuming you guys all read it physically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so I was I read most of my chunk on audio, and I kind of don't recommend the audiobook.
Okay.
So maybe that's a big reason, like why, because I think when I started it, I only read like the first 50 something, close to 60 pages physical, and like I probably wasn't in the right headspace. So then I switched to audio thinking, oh, I can just like multitask and listen to it at the same time. But the audio gets really confusing with all of the names and like the huge cast of characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't suggest listening to this on audio if anyone is considering doing that.
It does have a huge cast. Like even the physical book was confusing with the amount of cast there was.
Yeah.
I kept having to like constantly flip back to the, oh my god, who is this person that's talking right now at the start of the book?
Yeah, just hearing you say that, because I was trying to find it on audio so I can also try to, get through it quicker in a way. But I'm glad that I couldn't find it. But I feel like if I had the audiobook and then was like had the physical to like open to these pages, I feel like that could work really well too. Just to be like, okay, I'm listening to it, and then in case like I'm getting confused by someone, I'm like, oh, I've still got the book like right here to look at this house list.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you are insistent on listening to it in audio, it might be one of those situations where you want to do audio and physical together at the same time.
Yeah,
but
that's probably a good shout.
Yeah, which is like the fully book immersive experience. But yeah, so where do we want to start? Is there a way to do this non-spoilery?
Well, should we do ratings first, or like rate what you read so far?
Okay.
If you haven't finished it, what did you give it so far, Steph and Jessa?
3.5, leaning towards a 4.
Okay. Considering that I like started rereading it this morning and I had a better grasp of what was going on, it was kind of sitting at a 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gave it. Well, I finished it at 4 in the morning today, but for now, I give it a 4.
Spirit. What about you, Max?
I gave it a hard 5.
Okay. Wait, hold on. Need to know. Okay, was it a 5 from the beginning, or were there certain points throughout the book where it just started ticking up?
It was like a 5 for the first 100 or 200 pages. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then there was like 50 pages where I was like, okay, this is like dragging out a little bit. And then like something happened later in the book and I was like, what? And then straight back up to a 5 for me.
Nice.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered the second one at work today.
Oh,
okay.
Wait, it's not out yet?
The second one's out, but I
it is.
pre-ordered the paperback.
I think the third one is not out yet, right?
It's not yet, no.
Okay. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for coming. That's okay, and I might not have a hot take because I didn't finish. That's okay.
I kept getting this when I kept remembering hearing about this, like when it first came out, and I think around the same time, Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo also came out, and I was like, I just got when I first started it, I was confused because I'm like, wait, I thought it was whatever the plot of like the Ninth House. I'm like, wait, why is this not making sense to me? And I was just like, I just thought that was funny that 2 books with a Ninth House concept came out like around like the same time. And that they were both highly talked about on BookTube, at least from like what I watched. Everyone seemed to be talking about this and Ninth House when it both came out in like 2019. So
Gideon the Ninth House.
with it coming out such a long time ago now, like way back in 2019, but it still feels like a new book.
Right.
But I feel like
it does.
The thing that is so like, I feel like this is a book that is so weirdly affected by the blurb on the back. Like, I do not think the blurb is a good representation of the book at all. And I think that can hit in like 2 completely different ways. Because firstly, it can trick people who just want to read a fun fantasy with LGBT rep into reading sci-fi. Or like it can put hard sci-fi fans off that wouldn't pick it up because of the blurb. And I think like for a while, I read the blurb of this at work and I was like, I really don't know if this is going to be my cup of tea. And then I picked it up, and it absolutely was, but the blurb sucked, and that like stopped me from reading it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I
5
think
stars for the book, like 1 star for the blurb.
Oh my gosh, that would be such a cool segment if we did like books whose blurbs don't do it justice.
Or writing better blurbs for books. that
Yes!
don't have blurbs.
Oh, yeah.
I hereby propose we make this a live show discussion.
Hell yeah.
And just bring in anyone in the chat wants to join that, let us know.
100%.
Maybe this just because I don't read a lot of like harder I like wizard fantasy, but I can't tell you how many times I had to like look up necromancers, just being like, what the heck does that mean again? And I would always forget it, and I knew it had something to do with like death because of like the skeletons, but like before we picked this book up and I kept hearing about it, I just had to keep looking up. I'm like, what the heck is a necromancer? Like I just never read anything like that before, and I'm like, I am so confused.
You never watched Spawn or like
Spawn is so good.
Spawn is the best. Oh my god.
I was really impressed with like the fact that you think that necromancy is just like raise the dead, talk to the dead, but
Right.
that they managed to spin it into so many different variations on a theme, and that was I really loved that. It was so cool.
Oh, it's so good.
So like that might be part of the reason why I struggled in the beginning, was just because it was leaning very fantasy heavy. And please tell me if this changes or if you guys see it differently, but I like world building that's very descriptive and maybe like purple prose and like I'm a very visual person. So because in the beginning, it didn't feel like there was too much description of what people and places looked like, I was doing a lot of mental gymnastics to make sure that I was understanding things correctly.
Yeah, I get what you mean. There wasn't a lot of description at all,
Right.
but I feel like my brain was just like, and I had it straight away. So I had like this super concrete image the whole way through.
Fair.
But I feel like that's probably because I went into the book with an expectation of what it was going to be, rather than actually having things given to me during the book.
Mm-hmm.
I might just be spoiled from reading Brandon Sanderson.
Those magic systems, nothing hits the same now.
Everything is so perfectly mapped out. But anyway. Awesome. So what do you guys where do you want to start with any of it? Where do we start?
I think one thing I really liked about it, that is something I really, really look for in just stuff in general, because I don't read a lot of books that have romance in, and it's so much more progressive to me to have LGBTQ rep in a book without that aspect of the character being the core of the story. Do you know what I mean? That should be like so incidental to what's going on. Like Gideon is gay, but it means nothing in terms of the story. And I feel like that was a really cool part of the book.
I think that's a good point. Like if people come into it looking for that to be a focus, it's really not brought up at all.
No.
It's just mentioned a lot. Like,
Yeah, it's dropped
she's
a few
pretty.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about things like this, is that like they're just treating it normally as it all should be treated. And so I also do like that as well, because it doesn't make me think, like I don't have to stretch too many brain cells just to like be like, if it's normal for them, well, it's normal anyway, but like if like in this world, this magic world that's completely different from like ours, if they just see it as completely normal, why should I like not see it as that too? So
Yeah, exactly.
It's just kind of, it's built into Gideon's personality, and it's just very like whimsical. Especially in her relationship with Hera, which I want to talk about in a second. But Rachel has a question for us, which is, who do you recommend Gideon to, example, fans of what?
I know exactly who I'd recommend it to.
okay.
I'd recommend it, honestly, I'd recommend it to people who like Dune, because it has a very similar vibe to Dune. I would recommend it to people who like the Riddick movies.
I could see that.
Because there's like when I was reading this, I was constantly thinking of the Necromongers from Chronicles of Riddick, like the middle movie in the series. And then I would also recommend it to people who play Warhammer, because it's like there are big Warhammer vibes in this. Or if you like the Horus Heresy, the Black Library stuff.
And there you go. Actually, I think I read that online too in a couple people's reviews on Goodreads, where they were making a lot of comparisons to Chronicles of Riddick. Hey, Natalie!
Thanks for showing up, though.
Yay! That's still more than me. Good job. Good job. So how did you guys find the relationship between Gideon and Hero?
It kind of annoyed me a little bit until there was the big revelation of what the hell the deal was between them. And like I don't know if you got that far, Jessa, with the scene in the swimming pool.
Not that far yet, no.
Between the two, but like that scene, I was
like I know what happened. Yeah.
Everything makes sense now. Oh my god. Yeah, and from that point, it all retrospectively slid into place, and I was like, okay, I totally get it.
Yeah,
I think it was really interesting, just Gideon in general, just because when I was first reading, I didn't really understand like some of the humor, I guess, that was in there. I guess I was reading through like the Discord chats, and I think some people were saying it was like, you know, New Zealand, Australian, like British humor, that it's like it's different from like, I guess, what me as an American is like used to. But then there were some parts with Gideon just like, she's like, oh yeah, I'm like sick of everyone's shit or something like that. Like that, one of those lines like stuck out to me so much. And I
Oh, Jessa, you're breaking up a little bit.
She's
Can you guys hear?
Oh, you're back.
Oh, you're back.
Oh,
You're back.
okay.
There you go.
There we go. Okay.
We couldn't hear that last thing you
Yeah,
said.
we didn't hear.
That's okay. I'm done. I just think the humor threw me off a little bit getting with the relationship between Gideon and Hero, but then like once I started understanding it more, I think just reading it through, like it just made me like both of them even more. So
definitely, it's very hard to write sarcasm without that sarcastic character being like super cringy.
Yeah.
Cough, J. Kristoff.
Like whenever I read sarcasm in like 90% of books, I'm like, this is so edgy. This is like an edgy teen wrote this.
Oh God, have you read J. Kristoff? Any of you guys?
I haven't. I want to read the vampire one that's coming out this year, but I've not read any of his other stuff.
Okay, like he's really known for making his characters very sarcastic, which I don't vibe with. Even though I really love the Illuminae series, like those books were amazing multimedia sci-fi. Like I haven't read anything like it since, but just the sarcasm didn't help. That's okay. Natalie says, I love the chaos between Gideon and Hero.
Yes. They were so, the end of the book, my heart. But yeah, I don't know. In the beginning, I was like, what an interesting relationship they have. Especially when Haro like did things. I was like, oh no, Gideon. Gideon. But I don't know. I feel like the sarcasm kind of like remind me that they're only like 18 and 19 years old, I think. So they're still like pretty young and fighting to the death and stuff. So
my brain did that thing though where I was like aging them up
Yes.
in my head.
Yeah.
Because like whenever I read like a character's 16 to 19, I'm like, nah, they're not really. In my brain, they were like 25.
Which is why in the Discord, I was like, why is this reading like a YA? Like, yeah, because, yeah, it just got to the point where I was like, no, you're not 16. We're just going to add a 10. Be fine. Ellie says, I've read J. Kristoff, but I really vibe with the sarcasm, humor in his books, Nevernight and God's Grave. Okay, see, everyone has different takes.
I feel like sarcasm can go like one of two ways. You can either like understand it, or you could be like Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory, who just like does not understand it and just takes like everything so literally. I feel like when I'm reading sarcasm, I fall into definitely one of the two categories. There's not like an in between. I'm like, ha, I get it, because I'm also kind of sarcastic. Or I'm just like Sheldon, where I need like the sarcasm sign thrown up.
Did you guys find that? Well, my interpretation was that the character with the most sarcasm was Gideon, but not every character was sarcastic.
Yeah, it
Right.
wasn't everybody.
Yeah. So like versus again, I don't have a better example, so I'm just going to use Jay Kristoff. Whereas just my experience with reading his books was more like every character has a very similar level of sarcasm.
Mm-hmm.
So if sarcasm, that kind of humor is something that throws you off, then I think Gideon might be better just because it's like the one perspective.
Yeah.
Right? It's not throughout.
That makes sense, yeah.
With the characters being on the same level as well, that like constant back and forth can get so exhausting to read. And in this one, you had like Gideon would be very sarcastic and Harrow would just shut her down. Like, you need to stop. You need to take this seriously. We are not here to fuck about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was good because it meant that it didn't go on forever the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. And we stay, I think, in Gideon's view the entire time, right?
Yeah.
Which is another factor. I don't know if anyone wants to like touch on that, but just like we kind of learn things as Gideon learns things, I think.
Mm-hmm. And that's why for the first like half of the book, the world build is so unclear because Gideon is kept as part of this like cult almost on this obscure house, and she really doesn't know what's going on at all. And everyone else around her, like the other 8 houses, they all have a very clear view of like how they fit into things. But Gideon's like, oh, guess I'm here.
What does that mean? So like up until the events in which she had to leave, like the actual 9th house, wasn't really aware of like how the rest of the world functions. Right? Because like wasn't there a scene, I think, where like she tried food that wasn't gruel for like the first time or something. She's like, wow.
That was on the first house.
Yeah.
When they were in the mansion bit.
Like, wow, food. So,
now, I don't know if I just completely missed this or not, but I know that throughout the chapters, there was like the different little like masky things. Because like this one, chapter 19, that's like the second house. Did these like mean anything, or were these for fun? It was just
I think
like
it was the main focus of.
Okay, that's what I thought
characters
too.
were in that chapter, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Because I noticed that they were changing, but then I think just because like I'm like, ooh, that's fun. That's fun looking mask. I didn't like get it at all. But then like I was thinking, I'm like, ooh, do they actually like mean something? Like I can't remember.
Well, that's I think the good part of the physical book is that like in the front you get like the graphic organizer, right, with like all the different houses, but then in the back
there's a huge appendix at the end.
Yeah.
Like a really big appendix.
It is. And it gives you like all the terms and everything, which is very helpful. Another reason why I don't suggest the audio. So,
I love that poem at the front as well.
Huh?
I love the little poem at the front of the book as well. I love little poems.
So good. So are we like officially in spoiler territory? Or...
Yeah, I think we should just give the spoiler warning now.
Okay. So spoiler warning, from this point onwards, we are going to be talking about major plot points within the book. So if you don't want to, you're welcome to stay. But if you want to continue reading spoiler free, then thank you for joining us up until this point. So yay. All right. Where are we starting, you guys?
This is just a minor thing, but I loved the writing on the blood, like the blood writing, where it was like sweet dreams or something like that. I don't know. It gave me Harry Potter vibes, and Chamber of Secrets is like my favorite. So that's the only reason why I'm like that just drew me into it. I'm like, ooh, I can connect to something with this. So I loved that part. I think it was creepy. I liked it.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this book to be like kind of creepy, horror-ish. Like I was reading it really late at night, and I was kind of like looking behind my back. I was getting like chills. I was like, something's gonna come and attack me in the middle of the night.
Well, this is exactly why I thought it was gonna be my favorite book of the year. Just like I want horror, and I just want to finish it, and I want to reread it, and I want to love it.
It gets more horror-y towards the end.
Does it? Okay, I
Yeah,
have things
a little.
Definitely.
too. Hi, thanks for coming. Okay,
Get well
bye.
soon. Get well soon, Bree.
Yes. Okay. So, plot points. I think I understand what happened at the end from what I spoiled for myself.
Okay.
So the whole, I think like where I also got confused was like at the same point, some of the characters they didn't know what what's it called, a lictor?
Lictor. Yeah.
Lictor.
Like what the point of a lictor was. Or like characters throughout the book hinted that they knew the process to becoming a lictor. So did Harrow know the entire time, or did Harrow not know the entire time?
No, nobody knew the entire time until one of the twins did it right at the end. And then everyone was like, oh shit, like that's how it all fits together.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, like yeah, it was each of the tasks within the facility were one piece of the puzzle to the how do I become a lictor? And then the whole point of the lictor is somebody that can perform necromancy without an energy source because they have an everlasting like energy source battery.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just like super powerful necromancer.
Okay. So why didn't they just tell them that from the beginning? Like why go through all the trials and tribulations?
Because they wanted them to not fight for it. Like it says at the end, like they wanted them to understand it together and make that sacrifice. Because to become a lictor, the necromancer has to kill the cavalier.
Right.
But like they wanted the cavalier to go into that willingly and understand the importance of what they were going to do. But like in the book, because it devolves into everybody fighting everybody and like, I want to be a lictor. No, I want to be a lictor. But it's like they don't get it's something they were supposed to piece together.
I don't know. I kind of feel like just thinking about history and like how human sacrifice was like a common part of many cultures throughout human history. There's always been someone who's been like, I'll do it. Like, it might have been. If they put it out there, there had to be someone. Or are they trying to make an army of lictors? Is it like a training program?
No, I think it's just that like there has to be a bond between the cavalier and the necromancer, maybe.
Yeah, because I think the twin that killed the cavalier, she was having problems because he was unwilling to be killed, and so she couldn't have like the full control of all of her powers.
Finally, thanks for coming. So that's like why it's more important that we had all this like discourse between Harrow and Gideon the entire time.
So they bond.
If you call that bonding, I guess. I guess so. I don't know. Did you guys feel? I guess this is going back to the blurb of like it being about lesbian necromancers, but since romance wasn't like a large part of the plot, do you guys feel that at all?
I feel like that was kind of just put on the front to sell it.
Yeah. You put two buzzwords like that together, it's going to be talked about. So it's going to gain interest from people who are like, what the heck does that even mean? To people like me who had to look up what necromancers meant like 5 times because I just kept forgetting. So to like, you put like a common word, lesbian, with a different word that not many people know, they're going to be like, what the heck does this even mean? So just out of curiosity, I feel like if you just put something like that together, it's just going to just raise the Google searches. So
like, would you say that in the end, Harrow and Gideon's relationship was within the romantic sphere, or was it just out of like this mutual understanding of this needs to happen?
I think there was a moment of clarity between them where they so suddenly gained a perfect understanding of each other that they got like a bond of firstly mutual respect, secondly I can't believe I've not known this about you the whole time, and then thirdly they're going through like the whole shared trauma thing, which is going to strengthen the bond between them. So I think it was like kind of like romance, but romance not in like a like sexual way, just in like a I know you as a person inside out and I can't imagine this world without you way.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it was like a relationship, like a dating kind of a romance. It was more, I don't know if you would call it friendship, but it was like more of a that kind of like camaraderie.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like I saw it definitely like towards the end, and from like what I read from the like everything that happened in the end too. It's definitely more than a friendship, not too much more, but not enough to I think call it like a complete romance in a way.
But I think that's just because it hasn't had the time to develop.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
But will it though? Because
I don't know.
Where did her body go?
Yeah. What's up with that?
She like brings on her body as like a sex slave or something. Like, oh no. I mean, okay, so technically we're in spoiler territory, right? So Gideon is dead.
Yes.
And like
well, the Emperor told Harrow that Gideon is dead. But we don't know Gideon is actually dead because the Emperor was like, we couldn't recover her body.
But then didn't she kind of like fuse?
Yeah, I thought she had to be dead to get her soul or something.
But how did she survive that whole gas thing as a baby? Clearly there's something super special about her. I reckon she can't die.
Yeah,
I feel like she's gonna come back.
Yeah, I don't think she's gone.
Okay, in the end, when it was like Gideon kind of like coaching her through fighting, was it Gideon or was it like her? Like
I think it was
kind of hallucinating and stuff.
I think it was Gideon.
Okay.
I think.
Because the whole point of her, because Harrow didn't know like physical fighting swordsmanship skills, which is why she needed Gideon, right? So by absorbing Gideon, then she like gained that skill through her. So I think yes. So what your question is? Yeah. Okay, so does anyone want to spoil for me, if it's made aware at the ending, what exactly they're needing lectors for?
To fight against a greater evil.
Yeah.
They say what the greater evil is.
So the Emperor was talking about where your soul goes, like when you actually die, and like the space it goes through to get to that place. And he was talking about there are other things out there that are not human souls. There are things that feed on us. There are things that hunt us. There is like a threat coming, and I need an army.
Wait. If he needs an army, but in the end, they only got one lector, right?
No, they got Iantha, who was a lector.
Twin.
They got the good twin, who became a lector. I don't know.
It's still not an army, though.
It's not an army. But
slowly but surely.
You kind of see the threat just for a split second in the book when, what's his name? The guy from the 8th house, who is the battery that the other guy uses.
I don't know the name.
Silas? Oh, no, Colin?
Callum, yeah. So when the other guy is siphoning Colum to fuel his necromancy, because Colum has been bred as a battery, the bit in the big fight at the end, when he siphons him too hard, his soul disappears, and then something immediately gets into Colum's body that is not Colum.
Yeah, it was like 6 different souls or something.
There were like a lot of things suddenly snap into Column, and Column is like, everyone looks at him and his eyes are black, and they're like, that is not a human in there anymore.
Yeah.
So this is turning into like cosmic horror.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
No.
I think that's where this is going.
Okay. No need to say more. You've given me motivation.
Steph is like, I'm gonna finish this book right after this one.
I probably am. You know, that's like my favorite genre. Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, what else do we want to discuss? How about what was the starts with a D? The one who was like always dying.
Dulcinea?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
What
comments
about her?
on that, like,
What
any
about her?
comments
Yeah.
on that like relationship with Gideon? And
It was wholly manipulative the whole
Yeah.
time. But I think because Gideon had been so starved of any kind of affection for her whole life, that's how it worked. And I think it wouldn't have worked on anybody else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So inside, Gideon is like this huge puffball that we all just want to hug and just like feed cookies because she's never had a cookie before.
Yeah, she's definitely like that tough exterior because I'm broken inside kind of person. So
Yeah.
I can't really tell where the story's going after this book, though. I feel like book 2 could literally go anywhere because there are so many like minor things that have to be resolved. There's like Gideon, there's the threat that he needs the lictors for, there's the thing in the locked tomb that is like the anti-god or something.
The thing that was like killing everybody.
Well, because you know the ninth house, like when you find out what the ninth house is actually for, and like they talk about what's inside the locked tomb that the ninth house guard, and like why that is important, I feel like that's going to be the focus of the next one.
Innocent little girl wakes up and kills everyone.
Was there, what didn't people like about the book? What was there stuff that really ticked you off?
I mean, I think you guys should go first because I have thoughts, but mine are not fully flushed.
For me, it was the 50 different people with very long names.
yeah.
Was like really hard to follow. And secondly, as we got closer to the end of the book and you learned more about all the different people and what their abilities were, there were more of these abilities being used at once in every fight, and the fight scenes get progressively more difficult to follow and even visualize towards the end. Like the very last fight, I had to like really slowly read the pages. I'm like, what the hell is going on? There is so much stuff happening in what probably was like 2 minutes of fight was like a whole chapter.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely too many people. It's weird because I would think that because they're not like normal names, they're not like, you know, like Abby and Nick or whatever. Like you would think that because they're weird names, they would like stand out more and I would remember them better because it's like, oh, that's a weird name. But no, it just made it harder.
I think you could like very easily tell who was in what house because they use names like non-edginess or like Octokineron and like stuff like that, and you can very easily see the Latin in it. But like when they use first names, it's like, who's this?
Yeah, they sometimes switch between first and last names. And
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I don't know why Harrow's sometimes called Gideon Nav as well, because it was like either Gideon or Griddle or Nav. And I think that's her second name, but like I don't know why it switched so much.
Does it have something to do with like you know when someone says either calls you by your first name or last name to show like with the level of seriousness that they are in that situation?
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I was trying to match it to that and it really didn't match. Like sometimes when they were like joking around, she'd call her by her last name and stuff like that. And I feel like that's when you would be serious.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like when your parents call you by your full name, like then you know you fucked up super hard.
Yeah. You're like, oh shit, I'm about to get a whooping. So like, yeah, I was going to ask, why does she keep calling her Griddle? Where did that come from? Is that explained at all?
I have no idea. I think
Not
it's
that I
just
could
that
find.
It's just the.
it's the only thing you can really shorten. I don't know. I'd shorten it to like Giddy, I guess.
Hmm.
I feel like griddle is not supposed to be a compliment. It's supposed to be like a I don't know, just kind of bullying her.
I think it kind of like reminds me of from like My Hero Academia, where like the main guy Izuku and his childhood bully calls him Deku, and for like the longest time I'm like, that's neither of his names. I'm like, who the heck are we talking about here? But then I learned it's like technically like a form of an insult, and then like his arc is that he learns to use Deku as like a hero name. Anyway, but like that's how I took it as. It was like kind of like a childhood, maybe if you didn't get along, it was like a childhood bad nickname.
I get that actually makes perfect sense, and I'm actually reading My Hero Academia now.
Oh, yes, it's so good.
It is so good. I'm on volume 3, but like I think that makes sense because like they did technically grow up together, so it could just be a form of like, I'm changing your name to what I want to show you how much I hate your guts. But like, I don't know. I guess it makes, but like in My Hero Academia, we get that kind of like backstory of where the name came from, and here we didn't get a backstory. It's just like, I'm calling you Griddle. Sounds like a grill. Sounds like a floor. Sounds like like you're under my shoe. Like
it's like now I want to go to McDonald's and get like a McGriddle.
With them like growing up together, one of the things I really liked was like in the last fight scene, how they suddenly work so perfectly together before the whole like Lictor thing, but it totally stems from hatred, like where they perfectly know where the other person is going to be, what the other person is going to do, because they've been like paranoid and watching them for their whole life. Because you get like, oh, we work together because we've been such perfect friends for this whole time. It's like, no, we are a brilliant fighting pair because we have tried to kill each other 50 times.
That was such an awesome scene. I really liked that
cool.
part.
I've never hated anyone that much, but I think I can relate to the feeling. Like, have you guys ever had that feeling where you're like, I'm gonna prove that I'm good at this just to say like, thank you guys, you know?
Fueled by spite.
Out of spite, you end up doing something really well, and then you're just like, nobody talks to me. Totally been there, about that. All right. What else? Is there any other top points that we want to talk about? How about favorite characters?
I really liked the 2 guys from the 8th house, the ones that were the siphoners. I really liked them, even though they were kind of like dicks.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed the scenes that they were in because they were horrible.
How about you, Mel and Jeff?
I have to ponder this.
I'm like, it's lame to say Gideon because no one likes the main character, but like, because like I was just like reading something recently about how like no one's favorite character is ever like the main character of a book. But anyway, that's besides the point. But like, as soon as I understood more of the sarcasm that like Gideon was going for, I was like, girl, I feel you. I understand. Like,
it's a total coping mechanism.
Yeah, I kind of want to say Gideon, but yeah, I was like, it's never the main character. If it wasn't Gideon, I feel like it would have to be probably one of the people in the 6th house. Like,
the 6th house is cool. The medical ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were cool. I feel like there was such a good introduction as well for the Emperor at the end. Like, I wasn't expecting him to be like that at all.
Same.
And the way he's introduced, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. I'm wondering, like, where he lives and stuff. Because he's supposed to be, like, really far away. And I'm like,
So is there a possibility that this is going to open up into, like, other worlds or other solar systems? In the second book, did anyone get that kind of vibe, or like do you have the impression for what we read that all of them exist like within the same solar system, all the houses?
I feel like I don't know, because it talks about the maybe the base of each house is in one solar system, but then it does talk about like going to other galaxies and stuff, and going to like far-flung solar systems to like get planets for the Emperor and fight against his enemies and stuff. So I feel like the core of it is a single solar system.
And that's the vibe I got from it too.
Yeah.
So what if by like the third book we come to find out that we've been following the villains of the story the whole time?
It could be. Could be.
I'm down for that.
Well,
I don't know if that girl in the tomb is going to be bad. But is that just because she's a child that I think she can't be bad because she's a kid? I don't know.
no,
That's
she's
how they
one of
get
those
you.
creepy kids that are like really scary, powerful.
Or like Japanese horror movie children.
Yes.
It's actually like the Grudge origin story or something.
Because I mean, Haro was pretty scary as an 8-year-old already. So
Yeah, that's true.
So can we talk about like the fantasy versus sci-fi aspect of this book? Because I feel like, at least trying to think back, right? Like what did we read last month? What was last month? Oh my god, what did we read last month?
Leviathan Wakes.
Yes.
Leviathan Wakes, and then before that was The Dark That Dwells.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? And then before that was
Becky Chambers.
Becky Chambers. Okay, so like just thinking back to the past like couple months, this one might, in my opinion, be like the more more fantasy heavy of the books that we read up until this point.
For sure, yeah.
So how did you guys feel about that? Like, did that help it more for you guys, or did that like hinder more your reading experience?
I think it's like, it's one of those things like Dune or like Thor, where it's so far in the future and so far flung from what we know that it's not magic, but like it might as well be magic because we just do not get it. So like, I don't know. I would put it in the sci-fi box, but I guess I'd also put it in the fantasy box. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's like I definitely forgot at times that this was like fantasy and sci-fi and not just fantasy. Like at some points I was like, oh yeah, I know why we're reading this, because it's for the sci-fi book club.
Yeah. I definitely thought it was more fantasy. I remembered it was sci-fi whenever it was like they were going into the labs and studying the notes and stuff, and it was like, this is sci-fi.
I don't know. It always just like blows my mind that like, when you're categorizing or putting books into like genres and stuff, like it's always sci-fi, fantasy, like together. And while I can see them working together, I can also see people being very confused, like trying to pick up a fantasy book or a sci-fi book and just getting like the complete opposite, where it could be both, but like it's way one way or like way the other way, the way that you're not like expecting it to be.
I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago because I was reading this other book that a guy I know wrote called A Ritual of Bone, which is like a zombie book set in like a medieval fantasy setting. And I was thinking like how little you need to switch the genre. Like if it's a book about zombies, but the whole zombie outbreak was caused by somebody casting a spell, then it's fantasy. But if it's a zombie book and it was caused by a virus, it's suddenly sci-fi.
Right.
Even though it's the same story.
Right.
I never thought about that.
No, that's actually totally a valid point. I think who has a video on this? Who wrote N.K. Jemisin, I think, has a segment somewhere in which it's talking about why fantasy is justified as like in conjunction with science fiction all the time, and how science fiction is actually like comes from fantasy and just the way that we understand things.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But it's also like really interesting or contradictory or ironic that like science, which you would typically think of as like a solid thing, factual, like didactic, and fantasy, which is just like total human imagination. Surrealism is like so commonly understood as being one and the same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When should it be? I don't know. We can have a whole discussion on
It's
that.
definitely weird.
But like, okay, so I guess my next question to you guys is, would you recommend Gideon to someone who is fantasy going into sci-fi or sci-fi going into fantasy? Or both?
I don't feel like this is a gateway book, though. Like, I feel like if I recommended this to a fantasy fan and was like, read this, it's got some sci-fi elements, I don't think they'd come out the other end of it being more open to sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah. I can see
Because it's such heavy on the fantasy elements.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So then maybe like an intermediate.
Maybe.
Sci-fi
But the
reading?
other way round, maybe it would work. If you gave this to a sci-fi fan and were like, at the end, they'd probably be more open to fantasy.
Mm.
So maybe it would work one way and not the other, I think.
Hmm.
I could see that. Yeah.
Hmm.
I would agree that it's definitely not a, like, I guess to borrow your term, a gateway book. Kind of like how when we read The Dark That Dwells, it could be like an introductory to sci-fi story. But because this one, I think, like relied on our previous knowledge, like how Jesse, you were saying you have to keep looking up what a necromancer was.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Like it really depends on our like pre-existing understanding of what is necromancy, what is dark magic, what is entropy, like all these different terms that if you're not familiar with them, you might just be totally lost.
Right.
So
I want to put it out there that entropy is the scariest thing in the universe.
Not gonna argue with
100%.
that.
Terrifying. Nightmare material.
So does anyone else have any comments or questions or discussion points? Because we're getting pretty close to the 1 hour mark, so I just want to make sure we cover all our bases.
Are you guys interested in picking up the second one and the third one?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I'm definitely going to read them.
I'll let you know next week.
I feel like the second one is going to be, because it's called Harrow the Ninth, it's probably going to be from Harrow's point of view.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting, I think.
So then who's the third book's perspective gonna
The
be?
third one is called Electo the Ninth, who
Oh.
we haven't even met yet.
Oh.
Interesting.
Really?
But I reckon it's that girl in the tomb,
Dun, dun, dun.
maybe.
Or it could be Harrow transcending to this new tier.
Harrow the White.
So that is cool. Actually, when does it come out?
I think it's later this year, like November, I think. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
really?
Okay, cool. So if anyone still hasn't read Gideon or Harrow the Ninth, you still have time. Oh wait, is it 2022?
Oh, okay. You got loads of time then.
Yeah, loads of time. Yeah. It says expected in 2022.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's probably
And
like
they
early
haven't-
2022.
They haven't revealed the cover yet either, which is mysterious.
Yes, they have it. Dun, dun, dun.
I was like furiously Googling it today. I was like, I need to know when the next book's come out. Oh,
Oh. She
Steph!
probably expected the wrong path.
Oh no, our host is left.
let's summon her back from the void. Oh my god.
Oh, what happened?
Oh, there we go.
Oh, what just happened? Okay. I think that's my computer being like, you're done. Okay, no. All right, cool. So any last points?
I can't wait
anything
till you
burning
actually
anything?
finish it. I can't wait till Jessa and Steph actually finish it because I feel
Yes,
like we need to have like a proper discussion in the
I'm
chat.
sorry, you guys. I feel like an imposter right now.
No.
That's
No
okay.
way,
There's two
no
of us though, so it's fine.
But it's fine.
This month has been just too full.
Yeah.
This month has been like 3 months long.
It has.
It
Oh
has.
my god, June is like the longest month of my life. But that's okay, because in July we're reading a nice novella.
Sure.
Sure.
I will stay up. till
Yes.
4 a.m. reading it.
I already, like, as we were, like, talking about it, I, like, requested it from the library. I'm like, okay, if I get it now,
I should do that.
then I'll be okay. This one's
Yeah.
been due for, like, a week, but that's okay.
So next month we will be meeting on Max's channel to read the first volume of the Binti trilogy, and I am super excited for that. We've also announced what our like Q3 picks are for the month for the year. So if anyone's interested in checking those out, please join us on Discord and check out our Twitter where we post our updates, and you can come and hang with us. And if you still haven't read Gideon, that's okay, because you can jump in the Discord and hear us, me and Jessa, scream about it as we finish the next couple of days.
Yeah,
So we'll,
and we
we'll,
have
we'll
like
be here for the next few days talking for all the people who also have not finished it yet. So
perfect.
Alrighty, guys. I think that is going to be it for this month's live show. Thank you for joining us here at the Interstellar Book Club, and I guess we'll catch you next time. Bye.